You know that hollow feeling at the end of a wasted day? Not sadness exactly. More like you're standing at a window watching everyone else outside actually living their lives, while you stay in here, behind the glass, with a little bit more of scrolling, just one more game, only one other video, and you can't quite explain why you won't just open the door and step out. If you're someone with a head full of ideas, real talent, a sense that you were meant for something bigger, and yet your days keep slipping by in front of a screen, then stay with me. You're about to feel uncomfortably seen. This isn't a video about lazy people. It's a video about smart people who are quietly stuck and have never been told the real reason why. Here's the first thing nobody says to you. What looks like laziness almost never is. The world keeps handing you the same prescription. Be more disciplined. Fix your schedule, manage your time. And every time it misses completely because your problem was never about time. What's actually happening is far more interesting. That part of you that freezes the moment life asks for something real is not lazy. It's protective. It's a piece of your mind that learned a long time ago that staying still is safer than trying and failing. Psychologists would call this an avoidance strategy. In plain terms, it means your brain would rather you do nothing than risk proving you're not as exceptional as you secretly hope you are. There's one specific belief running underneath all of it. We'll get to it. But here's the thing almost nobody talks about. The smarter and more gifted you were as a kid, the worse this tends to get. Almost a century ago, the psychologist Carl Jung named this exact pattern. He called it the puer aeternus, the eternal boy. Think of it as a part of you that never fully left childhood and still panics whenever the adult world asks it to commit. Jung described the life these people live with one haunting phrase, the provisional life. Deep down, you believe your real life hasn't started yet. The job is just for now. The apartment is just for now. The relationship is fine for now. So you never give any of it your whole heart because in your mind, none of it is the real thing. Now here's the part that stings, and it's aimed at you, not at anyone else. You tell yourself you stay uncommitted because you're free. The research on procrastination points somewhere far less flattering. You're not protecting your freedom, you're protecting your self-image. As long as you never truly try, you never have to find out how good you actually are. And it gets stranger because the root of this usually traces back to something that looked like a blessing. Marie-Louise von France, who worked closely with Jung, noticed something surprising. Most of these eternal boys were gifted children. The kid who got things fast, who collected the word potential like a medal. That praise was the belief poisoning everything. You learned to tie your entire worth to being exceptional, and the adult world stopped rewarding potential the moment you walked into it. It only pays for results, for finishing, for getting back up after you fall. Remember Icarus, handed wax wings, warned to respect the limits, certain he was untouchable, so he flew straight at the sun until the wax melted and he dropped into the sea. That's what happens when you mistake potential for something you've already earned. Layer 1 is the numbing. The second pressure rises, you reach for a game, a feed, anything that makes the discomfort go quiet. Picture this, it's 2 in the morning, the screen glow on your face, the controller warm in your hands, and somewhere underneath the fun there's an alarm bell. You're working very hard not to hear. That's not entertainment. That's anesthetic. In the game, you get to be a hero. Then the screen goes dark, and you're back in a life that hasn't moved an inch. And notice the cruel little trick inside that room. Every escape makes the next one easier to reach for. The game asks nothing of you and rewards you instantly, while real life asks for everything and pays you back slowly, sometimes not for years. So your brain, doing exactly what brains do, keeps choosing the fast reward. It isn't weakness, it's wiring. But over time, that wiring carves a groove, and the groove becomes a canyon, until the gap between the man you imagine and the man you actually are feels too wide to cross. That's why this never feels like a single bad choice. It feels like a current, quietly pulling you somewhere you never agreed to go. Layer 2 is commitment. The moment a relationship asks for a real future, you feel the walls close in. So you magnify the other person's flaws until you have a reason to drift, and quietly hand them the responsibilities you don't want to carry. And this is where it gets really interesting, because there's a third pattern, and it's the one that decides whether you ever escape this at all. Layer 3 is the victim story. It starts to feel like the whole world is rigged against you. Think of Peter Pan forever blaming Captain Hook. In your life, Captain Hook is just your boss, the bills, and the ticking clock. Some of that unfairness is real, but the moment it becomes your only reason not to act, you hand the keys to your life over to your circumstances. Meanwhile, there's a crowd of ordinary people already out on the field. Not smarter than you. They just started. That quiet sense of being above them is the most expensive feeling you own. And we'll see exactly what it costs. Because here's the harder truth, and it's worth slowing down for. For some people, this isn't about freedom or fun at all. It's a hiding place. The fantasy of who you could be feels warm and safe, and reality feels cold and full of ways to get hurt. So the cocoon becomes both a refuge and a cage. A refuge because nothing in there can reject you. A cage because nothing in there can ever become real either. So sit with one honest question. Do you stay in that room because it genuinely brings you peace? Or because stepping out feels too heavy to face? Because one of those is rest. The other is hiding. And here's what makes the cost so easy to miss. It never arrives as one big bill. It arrives quietly in single days that each feel harmless. A Tuesday lost to a screen, a call you didn't make, a year that somehow folded into the one before it. Jung had a line that should stop you cold. He said the heaviest burden a child carries is the unlived life of the parent. Read that again. The dream you keep in cold storage doesn't just cost you. It seeps into the people who love you, into the relationships you half show up for, into the example you set for anyone watching how you live. A provisional life is never paid for alone. But none of this means you're broken. The hunger for freedom, the flood of ideas, the refusal to settle for a life that isn't yours, that is not a defect. It's enormous energy that has simply never been aimed at anything real. The boy inside you isn't the enemy. He's just been holding the wheel, waiting for someone to finally tell him he's allowed to grow up. To get you going, try this 4-step guideline which helps to overcome this reluctance. 1. See responsibility as the wall that protects your dreams, not a cage. 2. Do the small, ordinary things on purpose, in silence, until your feet are on the ground. 3. Practice failing on purpose. Send the application to 5 companies. Take the class where you'll be clumsy. 4. Build a structure outside yourself. A mentor, a demanding boss, people who won't pamper your excuses. The window was never locked. The door was never locked. The only thing in here was someone who hadn't yet decided he was allowed to walk out and join the living.